And we're thinking tonight about this question. How can Christians claim there's only one true faith? Maybe that's a question you've got tonight. You're coming with that. Maybe it's something you've been asked, thought, wherever you're coming from. We're going to be thinking about this tonight. And I just wanted to start off then in our groups with a couple of quotes just to discuss, really. One is from a lady called Karen Armstrong, which slide should I go? This side. Karen Armstrong, who's an author and commentator, and she says this: the arrogant assertion that one's own religion is the only true one, and that others worship false gods, is not only ignorant but also dangerous. So Karen Armstrong was coming from that place of saying it's dangerous, ignorant to claim that one faith is the true faith. On the other hand, Tim Keller, pastor and author, says this: it is no more narrow to claim that one religion is right. Oh, mystery. What does the rest of the quote say? Let's find out. Let's fix that in a second. See if I'd memorised it then, and I hadn't. It's no more narrow to claim that one religion is right than to claim that one way to think about all religions, namely that all are equal, is right. So just in your group, so you might just need to read those over again. Have a look at those. What do you make of those contrasting quotes? What resonates? What questions do they raise? Just a few minutes in your groups, and then we'll come back in together. Thanks. Thinking on some of these things. There's a bit more. We've just come back just a couple of hours ago from being with Charlotte's parents, and it was nice to be able to sort of visit as well where we used to live. And it reminded me of in Islington where we lived, the morning commute that I quite often had to take. It was only about less than half a mile from where we lived to the tube station. But on that journey that I took to the underground, we went past a number of interesting places, including a dog grooming shop. And so you're sort of going past there at whatever hour in the morning and saw a poodle with a quiff, in the window being shampooed and showered, and it was enjoying itself. And then you go a little bit further, a couple of doors down, I remember, and there was a pretentious coffee shop, or coffee shops, and they were selling, organic sourdough with jam and on a slate board, £4.50 for one piece of basic toast that was about that big. It was very nice. No, I didn't have that. But you had those kind of places, the dog grooming, you had the cafe, pretentious cafe. But you also had a number of religious buildings on that little commute, 0.3 miles or whatever it was to the tube. There was a mosque there, Holloway Road Mosque, and it had hundreds of shoes outside, on Fridays as people were going into morning prayer. The London Buddhist Centre was on the other side of the road going there. And then an ancient sort of Church of England building, St Mary's Church, huge building on the way. Less than half a mile, and we went past all of those kind of places there. Dog grooming, organic sourdough, but also Buddhist meditation centre, a mosque, St Mary's Church, and buildings like that. Maybe ignoring the dog grooming and the coffee shop for a moment, but most people would look at that and see that as a beautiful picture of harmonious society in the 21st century, wouldn't they? People of different belief systems, alongside atheists, agnostics, living peacefully and peaceably together. What more is there to say? Isn't that the picture of Britain that we want, the picture of society that many people want, with religions like that, just across the road from each other, all getting along well, everything fine? Well, into those words says Jesus Christ in John 14, verse 6. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father, to God, except through me. Jesus' claim, I alone, the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God, the Father, except through me. And that sounds quite un-PC, doesn't it? As a claim, can easily jar with our modern values. And Karen Armstrong, we looked at that quote, didn't we, earlier? Her quote. It's an arrogant assertion, she would say, that one's own religion is the only true one, to say that, and that others worship false gods is not only ignorant, she says, but also dangerous. Yeah, that's what Jesus and the other Bible writers claim, that he is the only way to know God. And he's very upfront with that, isn't he? Jesus, if you've ever read his accounts in the Bible, he says, I'm the only way. I'm the only valid option. And this is really serious. It's life or death stuff. as you read a gospel like John's gospel. And of course, it's not just Jesus that said those words, but the billions of Christians since have repeated and lived by these words and believed them to be true. That following Jesus is the only way to get to heaven, to know God. What do we think of that? Just as we reflect on that tonight. Because it's tempting to think that maybe Jesus just needs a decent PR team to get him up to date with the 21st century pluralistic society that we live in. I grew up in, some of you know, the depths of Cornwall. Pirates, pasties, pixies. Maybe I can get away with that kind of thing growing up down in Cornwall. But now my son's at a school. I've always got a friend. One of his best friends is from another religion. Is it not rude or hateful or intolerant even? Or old-fashioned for me or our church to hold to Jesus' exclusive truth claims? After all, isn't that what starts wars in the name of religion? Rebecca McLaughlin, who is a Christian, she puts it like this provocatively. She says, it's one thing to say that Christianity is true for you, but the claim that Jesus demands the allegiance of every human being, regardless of one's current cultural background or current beliefs, seems offensive and absurd. She doesn't believe that herself. She's putting forward that many of us would resonate in one way or another. We live in a multi-faith society, global village, and many would say there's no kind of place for this attitude. Christians need to wake up and catch up. ChatGPT, I don't know how much everyone's using that. AI in different ways. I used it for this talk. Not the whole thing, okay, just before you thought that, wait a minute, sounds a bit better than Nathan's. No. But I put into it the obvious question, how many religions are there in the world? Does anyone know? Anyone want to guess? Don't look on ChatGPT now. Anyone have a guess?
133.
133. I love the accuracy there. A little bit more. Go on.
150.
We're conservative here at the restaurant.
131.
We're all way low.
10,000?
Thousands, good. 4,300, apparently, according to ChatGPT, including the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, the religion of the invisible pink unicorn. I've told my daughter she's not allowed to be tempted by that. And Jediism. Okay, those are some of the options out there. And I'm sure we can think of more. But I guess we can sort of laugh about those ones, perhaps. Maybe not. If you belong to those, you're very welcome here tonight. If you found the pink unicorn yet. But how can Christians claim theirs is the one true faith out of 4,300 plus options? Well, that's kind of where we're at tonight. That's what we're thinking about. And I want to prod away at two assumptions and then think about three unique things about Christianity. Not saying I'll convince everyone of all these things tonight, but just to get us thinking on this. So first of all, the first assumption then that's often made is this, that all religions are basically the same. And maybe it's the kind of thing you've heard, someone said to you, you've thought as well, perhaps. They're basically all the same. It's quite common, isn't it, for people to say that. Again, last London reference, I promise, but this last week I met a friend near King's Cross Station, and we used to live quite close to that. We heard the underground under our house. That was a little bit disconcerting under a lounge when we lived there. But if you know anything about loads and loads of trains come into King's Cross. In fact, different tube lines and buses and overland and mainline, all these different, they all kind of, whatever route they take, they all end up at King's Cross. And people would say it's the same with religions, isn't it? Whether it's Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, in the end they all get to heaven or paradise or nirvana. That's where they all end up in the end. It's kind of King's Cross, and they all end up there in the end. And for many that sounds lovely. It sounds attractive. Like you call your God this name, I call him this name or her this name, but they're basically all the same, right? That's one of the assumptions. And you might have heard this before, someone have heard this, the story that often illustrates this of the blind men and the elephant. It's a Hindu origins to the story. You heard it, six blind men, and they all go up to an elephant, and they're taken there, and they feel around different parts of the elephant. And one says, an elephant is like a palm tree, and they're holding the trunk. And That's the closest. That's what it is. And another goes up to the side of the elephant, and no, the elephant is like a brick wall. That's what elephants are like. They're like a brick wall. And another one, no. Elephants like a rope as they feel the tail and are pulling on that. And it's like a tail. No, it's not. It's like a brick wall. No, it's not. It's like a rope. And they sort of have a disagreement about this. Each of them is convinced that their own explanation is correct and that all the others are wrong. And the story goes, none of them realizes that they're experiencing just one part of the same elephant. And none of the explanations of the rope or the palm tree are complete. They need something bigger. And the moral of the story is that so it is with religions. We're all just experiencing different parts, not of an elephant, but of God. One of us has got the tail, one of us has got the side, one of us has got the trunk, but none of us kind of has it all, but we're just sort of in different places. And people like this story when it comes to religion. It sounds quite humble, doesn't it? It sounds quite fair. What's the problem with it? Anyone want to shout out? You brave? What's the problem with that story, you reckon?
Jesus said he was the only way.
Sure, okay. So Jesus comes into that. We've thought about at the beginning. Yeah.
None of them see the completeness.
What do you mean? Yeah. God. So that's sort of halfway there. Yeah. Yeah.
It assumes that there's somebody who can see the whole elephant.
Sure. Okay. So do you remember what I said to people who are kind of...
They're all blind.
They're all blind.
And they're only using a fraction of their senses.
Sure. So they're all blind, but someone, as Matt said, is stepping back, who's not blind, who sees everything going on. The storyteller sees the whole elephant. And they say, look, every religion is part of the same God. And so to know this, the storyteller, of course, would have to see the complete picture, seeing how each religion fitted together. And so really, it is saying that followers of Christianity, Islam, Buddhism are blind, and they don't see the whole picture, but the narrator does see the whole picture. They can see, they stand back and they see the whole thing. That's not necessarily as humble, is it, as perhaps it seemed at first. And actually it's an absolute truth claim, the very thing that many people are worried about making. Many today would love to think of all religions being in essence the same, and perhaps it is often a genuine desperation for peace and unity. But let's just take one fundamental question. Who is God? Okay, that's pretty important, okay, when it comes to religion, right? Who is God? Well, Christianity would say, well, there's a capital G, God, one God, three persons. Islam would say there's one God, not three persons, one God, Allah. Hinduism would say, no, it's not just one capital G God, but actually 330 million gods and goddesses. Someone might like that all these like to say that all these claims are valid and right, but they can't be. They clash, don't they, in different ways. And on top of that, you'll be hard pressed to find genuine followers of the individual religions who would say that all religions are the same. My old neighbour was a devout Muslim who I got on really well with. And he would say that his Islam was very different than my Christianity. That was okay to say that with him. Or my son's school friend is a Hindu. That's okay for his parents to think that that's very different to Islam or to Christianity. One writer put it, all religions can hardly lead to the same God if they don't even believe in the same one. James Fraser writing in 1890, so this is a long time ago, 1890, he said there is probably no subject in the world about which opinions differ so much as the nature of religion. And to frame a definition of it which would satisfy everyone must obviously be impossible. Yet there has recently been a determined effort to reduce all religions to the same basic phenomenon. He's writing that in 1890, saying they were desperate then just to boil them all down, just to say there's just one. They're all the same. And that was in 1890. Now, of course, there are similarities, right? Holy books, prayer, community. It doesn't mean, of course, that there aren't valuable parts or elements of truth in different religions. Yet the differences are massive. And to think they're all believe in God, be nice to people, everything else is just details. Well, that's patronising at best, and actually quite offensive to the individual religions at worst. Second second assumption we'll just move on to now, is another one that Jesus' claim is just too exclusive. Again, some would say that it's just too much. It's exclusive. What Issachar just said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Let me ask a question. Is Jesus exclusive or inclusive? Yes. Right? It's both. It's both. His claims are exclusive. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Or as it puts in Acts 4, salvation is found in no one else. There's no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved. But each of us is exclusive, wherever we're coming from tonight, about religion. We're not always going to agree with everyone else. Again, the elephant there seemed humble at first, but it wasn't really. It was wanting everyone to drop their individual views to their view that saw the whole elephant, that saw the whole thing. It essentially says, you guys have it wrong, I have it right, in that way. And think about it, those who believe in the afterlife would naturally want to exclude some people from it, wouldn't they? If you follow that, if your religion in different ways, most religions don't say that everyone makes it to the afterlife. Jimmy Savile, Harvey Weinstein, Paula Venables, maybe, Kim Jong-un, are they all going to make it? If you think no, to some extent that's being exclusive. Whatever we think about religion, we're all going to make exclusive claims. And so that quote Tim Keller had at the beginning, it is no more narrow to claim that one religion is right than to claim that one way to think about all religions, namely that all are equal, is right. So there is an exclusiveness about Jesus' claims, yet also Jesus' offer is dripping with inclusion as well. He eats in the gospel accounts with sinners and tax collectors and the lowly in society. As he's dying even on a cross, he tells a criminal next to him that he will see him in paradise. He forgives the sins of an adulterous woman. The message of Jesus is good news to all types of people, no matter background or lifestyle, religion or lack thereof. So he is exclusive. I'm the only way, he says, yet also inclusive. The offer is open to anyone. Anyone. Well, let's just, again, go into your groups, realise it's hot, take a little break from that. In your groups again, what did you make of maybe those two assumptions? First of all, let me just remind you what they were. All religions are basically the same. Jesus' claim is just too exclusive. What do you make of maybe the holes that I pointed out in those assumptions? What questions are you left with from that? So just again, a little bit of time just to chat in your groups. A few people asked just if we have time for questions, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time at the end for that as well, so do store those up. Okay, we've thought about those two assumptions. A little bit more briefly then, what makes Christianity unique? We're thinking about as well. What makes it stand out from the buffet, if you like, not of food here, the buffet of 4,300 plus different religions on offer? That's quite hard to assess, isn't it? You can spend a day on each one of those and be going for a very, very long time. What makes Christianity unique? I just want to draw out three little things for us that I want to say make it unique. First of all, you can investigate it. You can investigate it. So just go with me on this for a second. Imagine one night I ate loads of cheese before bed and I had a dream. It was a powerful dream. And Winston Churchill appeared in my dream and he told me to start a new religion in his name. He said, let's call it Winstonians. That would make sense, wouldn't it, if we call it that? And everyone following that religion's got to smoke pipes. Some people are thinking, this sounds good. No. Smoke pipes, speak with posh voices, drink whiskey, and I've got to proclaim this message that this new religion is going to start called the Winstonians, and I've got to proclaim that to others. If I was to say that to Henry Court, he was going to be my first or my second person following that, I imagine he might say, well, give me some evidence that it happened. And I would say, I couldn't say anything, could I? But clearly that's a silly example, but imagine travelling in a time machine and you meet with the Buddha. And you have a nice cup of tea, you put the world to rights, and then you ask, can you prove that your religion is true? Or Muhammad, and he explains how the whole of Islam was revealed to him in visions in a cave written down in the Quran, and you say, can you prove that your religion is true? It's kind of hard to prove. But with the Christian Gospels that we have in the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, we have available to us writings that aren't just ideas or philosophies, but they make the claim to be history. Luke's Gospel, for example, was written so close to Jesus' life and includes eyewitnesses of the account. So let me just read out the way it's put in Luke chapter 1. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. Actually, as you read through a gospel like Luke and his account, you see there events and place names and people's names, and they are making the claim to be writing history in those accounts. The Bible claims we can know truth about God. So again, just don't know everyone in this room tonight, can I just challenge you to give it a read? An account like Luke's, or one of the gospel accounts. I've left a few copies, just you can just pick it up on the way out. Don't need to pay or anything like that, just take it with you. And as you read through that story of Jesus' life, ask the question, does this stack up? Is the evidence good here? Does it ring true as I read it? You can investigate it. Secondly, then, God has visited the earth, if you put it like that. A second unique claim is that God has not remained aloof and distant, but he's entered into this world in the person of Jesus Christ. Rather than that just being a state visit, the boy became a man, and he suffered 2,000 years ago on a Roman cross, the moment that he would say was the whole point of his coming, so that he could offer forgiveness and eternal life, which is the thing that we most need. No other religious leaders accomplished such a thing. And so if we put our trust in God's rescuer, then we are rescued. And if we don't put our trust in him, there is no hope, Jesus says, because there's no other rescue. Jesus' words, he says, there is no other way to the Father except through him. God has visited the earth. And then the third thing is how you obtain relationship with God. I'm not sure of the official teaching of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Others might know more about that than me. But behind all other religions is essentially spiritual effort or achievement. If I do this, then God will accept me. If my rights outdo my wrongs, then God might grant me eternal life. Essentially, it's some concoction of the 3 R's: rules, rituals, regulations. Some kind of list of things that we need to do to obtain and get eternal life. I hope you know that Christianity could not be further away from this. It shatters the stereotypes. Christianity is unique because it's all about the word grace. It's all about grace. It's not about needing to pray a certain amount of times a day, or our rights outdoing our wrongs, or even getting a certain amount of church attendances under our belts to merit our way to God. You know, I've come twice to church today. You might have been here this morning. No, it's not about that. Rather than us kind of climbing the mountain to try to get to God, he has extended his arm to us in the person of Jesus Christ. And through his death and resurrection, he has made a way for us to be rescued from our sin, to be restored to God. And that's why Christians, they don't cringe at John chapter 14, verse 6 that I read at the beginning. They love it. They love that Jesus is the way, because naturally we're lost. We've wandered from the truth. And so rather than it being an arrogant or exclusive claim, the claim of the Bible is that this offer of grace and forgiveness, relationship, was open to anyone. And reading a gospel will help you not just reveal theory, but a relationship with the one who made you and who loves you. That is what is up for grabs, after all. So there's three little unique things there. You can investigate it. God has visited the earth in Jesus, and how you obtain relationship with God. Just before we go back into our groups, I just want to put this in there, potentially, more for Christians here tonight. And that's the question: is it wrong for Christians to persuade others in whatever way that looks like? I'm not saying that looks like the megaphone outside the this train station or the billboard or whatever it might be. But that lurking question maybe some of us have of, is it wrong for us to try and persuade others to change their beliefs? If you're a Christian tonight, maybe that feels a bit awkward at work, or insensitive, a bit un-British, socially naive, perhaps we might think. I'll just share a story of a guy I saw. You might have seen it a couple of weeks ago, a BBC News article about a doctor, a guy called Richard Scolyer. I think that's how you say his name. He was won the sort of Person of Australia award last year. And he's a medical doctor there, very, very experienced towards the end of his career. And he had been pioneering this cancer treatment, and he had himself diagnosed cancer, and so thought, okay, I'm going to try this treatment that I've been putting together, and I'm going to try that on myself and see if it works or not. And Matt, you'll be able to tell me the official term. Glioblastoma. Okay, there we go. That was the kind of world first treatment for that, and actually, it seems a year later that it's kind of worked, at least at the moment. That it's been successful, amazing, and he's won this award for doing all of that. Of course, it would be ridiculous, wouldn't it, if he said, "Well, that's good news for me. But I'm not going to share that with anyone else. I'm just going to keep that to myself. It's worked for me. That's great." That'd be ridiculous, you would say, if someone had created and invented such a thing. Well, the Bible would say our spiritual condition is much more serious than cancer, and the solution found in Jesus is far more wonderful than any of us could ever imagine. And to share that, or even persuade someone of that, is an act of love, okay? In that way. So I'll put that in there as well for us to think about. I've got one more little discussion question before we come back for Q&A as well. So have a read through that. Let me just read it out actually, just quicker. Jesus presents himself not as one possible path to God, but as God himself. We may choose to disbelieve him, but he cannot be one truth among many. He has not left us that option. Again, you might agree with that wholeheartedly, you might have questions about that, that's fine. Just chat about that in your groups, and maybe think of questions that you might want to ask as well, because we've got a few minutes for that.